Welcome along, everybody. We are back for ALR action. We've missed a round. Well, we missed gold last night, of course, because of some sort of football thing. Goodness knows what that was. But we are here in Japan for Suzuka, and well, at Suzuka. And we have also got silver round 4 of Season 8 here tonight then, so looking forward to seeing how the action is going to unfold. Of course, no gold this round. It was scrapped then last night then in favour of some football games, don't know why, but there we go. And we of course have got silver then to lead us away here in Japan then for round 4 then of the season. Looking forward to seeing how it is going to unfold here for the 20 drivers on the grid then, and looking forward to a nice and sunny Suzuka once again. Then we had a sunny Suzuka race in the 100% on Wednesday last week. We of course have got China then coming up then for the 100% on Wednesday this week, previewing the next rounds as well then. But of course, first up we've got silver here tonight, then bronze tomorrow night then as well, to finish off the round 4 of Suzuka, that is. And Suzuka will be done and dusted then for the first round or first season of F1 24 in ALR. So that is that then. Waiting for the cars to come out on track then. We have got one car trundling down the pit lane, and it is an Aston Martin then of Jay Hings then. Good stuff indeed then. Jay Hings is on to the circuit, I think, just about. So there we go, then we can get ourselves started then here in qualifying. Jay Hings then taking us through into the first outlap and the first timed run potentially of the session here tonight then. 17 minutes left of the qualifying as all 20 drivers then are going to prepare to take to the track then here in Suzuka then. Looking forward to seeing how it's going to unfold here tonight as well then. Good luck then, and ALR from Gordo, who of course is one of the Aston Martin drivers. I think both Aston Martin drivers are car number 5, so yeah, interesting stuff indeed. Then Sebastian Vettel then is their favourite driver then, I imagine, but there we go. But so far so good then for Jay Hings then coming through the first and second Degners then under the bridge then towards the hairpin and negotiating it very nicely indeed. Then of course a few reserves then here tonight. Then I think we've got Real Ashton Army then, of course he's a bronze driver then reserving here tonight in silver. Vanquish stepping into the kick Sauber for his first reserve appearance then of the season as well then. And then we have got, where have we got then? Who else are we missing? I think we've got Don of the Dons then in the McLaren as well then. So 2 McLarens and 1 Kick Sauber as far as I can tell. No, an MHD as well in the Racing Bull. Sorry, I completely missed him. But there he is then in the Racing Bull. He's currently still in the garage. And everybody apart from the Red Bull and the Racing Bulls then are in the pit lane still, I think. So we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen then with them. But Jay Hings then is going to be not holding any bars then. He's going to be going for it straight away then here in the qualifying session. Then Jay Hings then sets herself underway here in qualifying, then flying down the main straight. Then DRS and ERS open or activated as we go flying into turns 1 and 2, then a very cambered corner then as we get ourselves lined up then into the S's section of turn 3 and turn 4, flying through there as quickly as possible of course then, and making sure we don't go on the curbs these days because that is very dangerous indeed then, but making sure he does that very nicely as well then, coming through Dunlop then up the hill then to the left-hander, and very nicely done indeed then for the Aston Martin. And first of the Degners then, purple of course in sector 1 because he is the first driver to set a time in sector 1, and into the second Degner up into, or under I should say, the bridge once again then in towards the hairpin as well. Then yellow flags fluttering, I think just for cars then finishing off their outlaps then and getting themselves ready to get going then through the hairpin very nicely, then flying down towards the spoon curve. And let's see what he can do then. Evening from resting Angry Dave then. Hope, of course, Angry Dave has had his surgery, hasn't he? So hopefully he'll be back with us soon and back in the racing seat then, that is. Good stuff indeed then. Hope the recovery is going well then. The ALR wasn't to rub it in, by the way. I forgot about that. Very well done indeed, Gordo. I completely missed it then. Here comes Jay Hings then flying through 130R then at full speed, flat out then in the Aston Martin. Let's see how he tackles the Casio triangle then. The last couple of corners then to negotiate in the lap. Then here he comes in down the hill towards the start-finish line, and it's going to be a 1 minute 28.743 then to set ourselves underway here in qualifying then. Good stuff indeed then. We've got a McLaren of Real Ashton Army then coming down the hill then to finish off a lap as well. Then it's a 33.0 from Real Ashton just starting off, or setting his sights I should say then here in qualifying, as a Haas coming through then of Tonto as well. Tonto of course a new full one, not a new full-time driver. He's on a 28.9. Good stuff indeed then. But Kamara Racer 28.5 then for the Williams driver. Great stuff indeed. Tonto is not a new driver. He is of course had his first full-time race was last week, wasn't it, or the week before even, but he has done a good time there. 28.9 then for the Haas driver then then. Good stuff indeed. Reflection at 29.2, sorry, I should say. Then both the Williams then looking strong in qualifying so far. R2 then up into the 29s as well. 29.0 for the Ferrari, then crosses the line. Then he's ahead of his teammate Vessi, who's done a 31.8. Now, I don't think that's Vessi's best time then, but he might have had an issue somewhere on the lap then. But Beast has done a 27.9. Then that is almost, well, it's over half a second ahead of Kamara Racer in P2. Then that is a fantastic lap time indeed from Beast. Of course, championship leader then is Beast in the Mercedes. Plotters P4 as Sweet repeats places him down to P4 then with a 28.3 then onto the first row of the grid then for Sweet. Good stuff indeed. Evening all, and best of luck to Serious Mushroom as well. Then get well soon from Angry Dave. From Mushroom to Angry Dave, that is. But of course, yeah, hopefully Dave, like I said, is on the way to recovery then in the next few weeks or so. Fingers crossed then for yourself. Then Potstuff P6 then with a 28.7. Then 28 starting to roll in. Then nobody can get themselves into the 27 just yet, apart from the championship leader then, which is Beast, and he is looking quite beastly out there as well. Then where is Mumford? We all want to ask. We want to find out, because Mumford is back on another lap. Then is Mumford, and Mumford is the challenger. Then he's on medium compound tyres here in qualifying so far. So he is, like I said, we've seen a few medium compound tyre runs from Mumford in qualifying before in previous rounds. Then only 3 previous rounds, but they have been pretty strong indeed. Then here comes Mumford then through the hairpin, flying through very nicely indeed. Then I'm just going to try and bump up the audio a bit, so I can hear myself. I mean, I can hear the cars rather, because I don't want to hear me. I want to hear the cars. Just checking, we can hear the cars. Yes, we can. Good stuff. Through the spoon curve then for Mumford. I think he's backed off then, so unfortunately for Mumford, that's him done and dusted. And here comes Vanquish then in his first. Nope, it's him coming back from the pit lane, and never mind, he's done a 38.0, which I don't think is representative of his best time, but we will have to wait and see. R2B is flying through the S's section. That car is sticking to the track very nicely indeed then for the Ferrari. Then Potstuff back in the pit lane from P6, and good stuff indeed. Then here comes Jay Hings in over the brow of the hill in towards the 130R flat out corner here in the current F1 cars, that is. But I think he might be coming back to the pit lane as well then, so he's going to be staying P5 at best. And good qualifying so far from Jay Hings though, looking strong out there. Favre's done a 29.2, puts himself P10 right in the middle of the grid. So far so good then for the Racing Bull driver then. We've only got one Racing Bull driver to set a time just yet then, but MHD is coming up the hill then towards 130R in the reserve Racing Bull. And let's see what he can do here as we come across to the... he's gone purple in Sector 2 then. Coming across Sector 2 line into Sector 3 then. Looking pretty good so far then for MHD as he comes into the Casio triangle then. Locking up the brakes then on the inside right then. And flying through the triangle as we go down the hill then to finish off the lap then. What's it going to be? It's a 28.5. Puts himself P3 on the second row of the grid then. Good stuff indeed. Very nice stuff indeed. Then here comes R2B. Then can R2B do anything about this as well? Then again locking up then into the Casio triangle. Then coming down the hill. Then flying through the last part of the lap. Then DRS activated for the last 2 seconds. And he's done a 28.624. Then puts himself P6 as well. Great stuff indeed from the Ferrari driver. Then looking good indeed in qualifying then these drivers as well. Then of course they are putting on the show here for ALR this round here in Japan. Then they're opening the round instead of being second, of course that is, to Gold, because Gold did not race last night. They were busy watching the Euros, which was a disappointment indeed, unless you're Spanish. But there we go then. Gordo reminded me then in the comment section actually that there was a Scottish chap who was putting out the flags and putting on a shirt for every opposition that England faced in the knockout stages, and he finally got one right then with putting the Spanish flag out, because he tried with the Slovakian, he tried with the Swiss, he tried with the Netherlands flags and all that, and shirts and whatnot, and he didn't get them right, but he got them right in the final, didn't he, finally? So there we go. Good stuff indeed then. Enough of the Euros then. We're going to go back to the F1 action here, because we don't really care about the Euros anymore. We can care about them in another 4 years or so. But here comes Kiki then. Kiki has been absolutely flying and qualifying in the recent rounds then. Let's see if we can hold on to that feat here in qualifying in Suzuka as we come up to the spoon curve now then to finish off his first flying lap. Then no time on the board yet for Kiki then. He's down in P19 at the moment, but can he improve? I'm pretty sure he can get himself a good time on the board here indeed. Then there's a Haas then weaving around then in front of us. Hopefully that Haas gets out of the way then. Purple in Sector 2. That's promising stuff indeed for the Mercedes of Kiki then. Can he get himself onto the pole position? Can he rival his teammate then for pole position as well then? Could it be another Mercedes front row lockout here in Japan then as we come down the hill then for Kiki? Let's see what it's going to be. It's a 27.9 as well, but he beats his teammate to pole position as it stands as well by, what was that, 12 thousandths of a second then. Great stuff indeed from Keychains then. That is looking pretty strong out there for Mercedes, as both of them then on the front row of the grid as it stands as well. Then Kamara Racer is back up into P5. Rocket Lizzo said good evening all as well. Good luck, Silver Drivers. And unfortunately, Rocket Lizzo isn't... I don't think Rocket Lizzo is racing tomorrow night in bronze, but he has been looking pretty formidable then in the first few rounds as well. Then let's see, hopefully he can come back or bounce back then in the latter stages. Then in the not tomorrow, but in latter stages after that tomorrow one. But there we go. Then I'm trying to get myself my words messed up then, because there we go. I'm trying to get myself sorted. Here comes Irvine. Here he comes then up to the line. Then it's P7 for Irvine, a 28.6 then for the Haas driver. Of course, scored his first full-time points then last week, as he unfortunately missed the first two rounds, and I think he was on holiday, so well, that's not allowed of course, but fair enough. So there we go then. So he has got himself up into P7 at 28.6 then for the Haas. Looking good out there as well. Then Reflection coming around the hairpin. Then where is Vessia? Vessia's coming up to the spoon curve. He's just got himself past a Red Bull, I think that is. Ashton Army is back out on circuit, so is Vanquish as well, coming up towards the 130R corner. Let's see if he's going to be getting in any danger there as well. I don't think he was going to get into some danger, but he got himself out to that quite quickly indeed. Here comes Mumford. Then he's not got much ERS to play with then, as he's come round the spoon curve once again. This time he's on the soft compound tyres. 7 minutes left of the session. So far, it's been pretty good stuff indeed here in Japan. Let's see if it's going to finish that way. We've got 7 minutes left to go here in qualifying. Then here comes Mumford, then powering down towards the 130R. He's gone purple briefly in Sector 2. I'm not quite sure what that means. But now into the Casio Triangle. Then can he get himself into the range then of his rival, then his championship rival, then of Ultimate Beast, then as we come down the hill, then flying towards the start-finish line. It's a 28.2, puts himself P3, and look at that then. Both Mercedes on the front row, both Alpines on the second row as it stands. Very good stuff indeed. Very symmetrical stuff indeed as well then. I like that very much. The OCD is very, very happy about that. If we could have all 20 drivers do that, that would be absolutely impressive stuff indeed. I'm not quite sure we can coordinate it that well, but there we go then, as Plotters then is, oh my goodness me, having a few problems. And I think there was a car then who was a Ferrari then, wasn't it? There's the Ferrari. It's Vessia then who's had a problem there somewhere. Pot stuff then up into P5 with a 28.4 then for the Alpine, for the Kick Sauber I should say. Then Jay Hings crosses the line, goes P6, 28.4 as well for him. That is looking pretty good stuff indeed for Jay Hings. Could be on for his best qualifying performance then of the season so far, but we're only 4 rounds in, so still a good job indeed though. MHD then currently in P7, then Kamara Racer on an outlap, then Plotters then I think was having that issue with the Ferrari then into Sector 2, into the first and second Degners then, wasn't he? So I think it's had to back off then on this lap. Potentially going to go again as well then. So Rocket Loser said, Fred, I can't race tomorrow, then that is return next week for China, of course. So good stuff indeed then. Hopefully we'll be back then next week then for bronze when is that? Tuesday. Not Tuesday tomorrow, because Tuesday tomorrow is Japan. China is Tuesday next week. So there we go then. That's fantastic stuff indeed. Look at how good I am at using a calendar. I can't use a calendar to save my life. But there we go then. Gordo then into the hairpin. Now in the Aston Martin. He's on medium compound tyres, it looks like then. So a few drivers out there I think are playing around with the medium compound tyres. Real Aston is retired in the pit lane. He cannot improve on a 33.0. Unfortunately for the McLaren driver then, he is done and dusted in qualifying here. And that is him finished then for his first attempt here in qualifying in silver, of course. Then he's going to have a bit of practice then before the bronze race tomorrow night. Then Gordo then heading down the hill towards 130R. Vanquish is back out on a lap then. He is on an outlap of he's done a 38.0, sorry, which unfortunately has put him down in P18 for the time being. Riyadh and Don of the Dons are yet to set a time in the session, and here comes Gordo flying through the Casio Triangle then with his medium compound tyres. Can he improve on a soft run then on his mediums? And let's see, he has improved by 3.5 tenths almost, then up into P12 then on the medium compound tyre. 28.7 for the Aston Martin. He is, unfortunately, he's 5 places behind his teammate currently, so he needs to get that sorted out. But he's done a good job then on the medium compound tyres regardless then. Good stuff indeed. And here comes Kamara Racer next, as I've completely missed MHD going up to P3 then. He displaced both the Alpines, and he's up into the 3rd position on the grid as it stands then for the Racing Bull driver then. Good stuff indeed. And here comes Kamara Racer. Can he claim that back? Can he get himself into the realms of a pole position here as well. Purple in sector 2, sorry, 2 tenths up. That would put him in the range then of P5 as it stands. Through the Casio triangle we fly, then here comes Kamara down the hill then towards the start-finish line. Then let's see what it's going to be then for Kamara Racer. It's a 28.3, then puts himself P5 then and splits the Alpine pair. Just about, that is. Good stuff indeed then. I need to go. I've got somebody at the door. Be back soon. Terribly sorry about that. There was somebody ringing me doorbell. But they have gone away now, thankfully. Good stuff indeed. Then Kamara Racer, like I said, up into P5, then splits the 2 Alpines, and Ultimate Beast is back out on that. Then 2.5 minutes left of the qualifying session here, as Irvine is flying through the first and second Degnas there as well. Tonto on a lap, then coming through the S's section, then making sure that Haas sticks to the grey stuff and don't go on the green stuff, because that is pretty dangerous stuff indeed. So far so good. Then we've got a wee bot, says Gordo. Not quite sure what that means, but there we go then. And GG Kamara without a spin to Serious Mushroom as well. Then hopefully, like I was saying, hopefully the luck can turn for Kamara Racer. Then he's been formidable in qualifying, as we've seen in previous seasons as well. Then, but unfortunately, just hasn't gone his way then in the races itself. Then, and just needs to maybe keep it a bit calmer then in the Grand Prix itself, and the results will come. Then there is a Tonto flying round an Alpine, I think there, and just about got out of the way. Then did the Alpine, sorry. And flying through the spoon curve now is Tonto Kart as well, then coming up towards the 130 hours. Ultimate Beast has retired. Where is Ultimate Beast retired? That is odd. He's in the pit lane, his Ultimate Beast, then so he's called it a day then as Ultimate Beast. Then he doesn't think he's going to be able to improve on his time. Then he's going to be staying P2 at best, that is, here in qualifying. As here comes Tonto then down the hill then towards the final start finish rate, I think, for his qualifying event here. Up to the line then he stays P12. He's improved by 16 rounds of a second, but it stays P13 actually, sorry. As somebody else I think has just crossed the line then to beat that time then. But there we go then. Don the Don's then up into P18. Then he's displaced Real Astronomy, his teammate, and Riyadh. Then Reflections jumped up to P13, then displacing Tonto down into P14 now as well. Then a lot of drivers then finishing off their out laps, I should say. Then Irvine drifting through the second Degna. Under the bridge we go. That might have cost him a few tenths there as we go through the hairpin now as well. Good stuff indeed. Then we've got a Red Bull of Plotters then. What can Plotters do then in the Red Bull? He can cut the final corner then, unfortunately for Plotters. That is his qualifying finish then for the Red Bull driver. They're not going to be starting any higher than P9, the championship challenger as well. Then, of course, started off very well with a podium in Bahrain. It hasn't gone his way in the last couple of races, and hopefully he can turn that around. Then R2P is locking up then massively, flying through the first couple of turns. Then Plotters retires in the pit lane. And that is his qualifying done and dusted. Then Gordo is back underway. Then this time on soft compound tyres. We've got Kiki starting off a lap in the background as well. Then the current pole sitter, of course. Where are we going to see? Who are we going to see next? Is the question. It's Irvine. I think just going to be starting off another lap. Is he? I think he's not going to have time to start off another lap unless I've got some sort of timing issue. Then as he comes across the line now, he will be finished. Then won't he? Yes, he will do. Unfortunately for Irvine, then didn't get a second lap in on that occasion. Then Jay Hings P8. Then he crosses the line. Then he improves, I think, slightly then into a 28.4. Here comes an Alpine of Mumford. Then Mumford improves by 44 thousandths of a second, then stays P4, then second row of the grid then for the championship challenger, unless his teammate can do something about it. He's almost 4 tenths up his Sweet 100p, then Sweet 100p then displaces his teammate down to P5 and goes up to P3 with a fantastic time indeed. Then great stuff indeed then from Sweet 100p. Here comes Pot Stuff, he displaces Vessia, then up into P7 now for the Kick Sauber. Good stuff indeed then. Here there's a McLaren off the circuit there. There's R2 Beat flying through the the Casio triangle now as well. Then let's see where the R2 Beat is going to go. Then here he comes then down to the line. What's it going to be then for R2 Beat? Can he get himself in the top 10? Yes, he can. It's P8 then for the Ferrari. Good stuff indeed. MHD P4 just only 14 tons of a second away from P3. Then here comes Gordo then through the Casio triangle. He's almost 4 tenths up on his time. Where will it put him in relation to the rest of the field then? It's P10 then displaces his teammate just outside the top 10. Then that is your qualifying here for, I think it's your qualifying here. Yes, it is. You're qualifying here for the Japanese Grand Prix. Brilliant stuff indeed then. Kiki's still going. I completely didn't notice, but he has lost an end plate then on the left-hand side of that Mercedes, and he crosses the line then. He does not improve. He's 15 seconds slower than his previous time, but it's good enough nonetheless. Then he stays at P1. He gets pole position here for the Japanese Grand Prix regardless. Great stuff indeed then for Kiki. Then pole position here in Japan for Mercedes. A front row lockout then for Mercedes here as well, then with Ultimate Beast in P2. Of course, looking to keep his championship fight alive, his championship challenge alive, of course, as he commands the lead by 3 points over Mumford as it stands in after the first 3 rounds. Then there is your front row, then Mercedes lockout, P in P3, then Visa Cash Out, Racing Bulls then of MHD, splitting the 2 Alpines with Mumford in P5, then Kamara Racer P4, Potstaff P7, R2 Beat and Vessia then in the Ferraris P8 and P9. Gordo rounds off the top 10, then Jay Hings P11, Plotters P12, Irvine P13, Reflection P14, Farf P15, Tonto P16, Vanquish P17, Donaldons P18, Real Ashton Army P19, and unfortunately for Riyadh, no time on the board in P20. Right then, here we go then for the race itself, I think. Hopefully, we'll just get the lovely sponsorships up on the board and we'll crack on. Right then, we are ready to get going here in Suzuka for round 4 of season 8 of Silver. Looking forward to this one. It's a nice and sunny start, it looks like, at least. So that'll be good stuff indeed. Then there is the lovely Ferris wheel spinning around in the background. I think we're just waiting for the drivers to get their strategies and get their fuel loads and get everything ready and sorted and set up to perfection before we can crack on with this race. Then Evening Mushroom as well from Rocket Lizo and Evening Gordo as well. Then looking forward to seeing how the race is going to unfold here tonight. Then it's going to be an epic indeed then from Silver, as we're accustomed to. But there we go. I've just hit me mic with me mic. Brilliant stuff indeed. And yeah, once the drivers then have got themselves sorted, we can get ourselves underway for the formation lap, which is nice stuff indeed. Where is the formation lap exactly? There it is. So here we go, and good stuff. Right then, cracking on underway. Then we have got ourselves a race to do here. That's the wrong image. Then this is the right one. Good stuff. Right then, here we go then. From top to bottom we'll start then. We have got a front row lockout then for Mercedes. Mercedes both going for the medium compound tyres. Then Kiki then medium compound tyres from pole. Then Ultimate Beast mediums from P2. Both the second row, 300p, then an MHD have opted for the mediums as well. Then same for the third row of Mumford and Kamara Racer. So everybody in the top 8 as well as Pot Stuff. And oh dear, Irvine's joined in the formation lap. That means he's not going to be able to take the start, isn't he? Unfortunately, you can't rejoin during a formation lap. You have to wait until the race starts, as he's left the session this time, which is good stuff indeed. Hopefully he can rejoin later in the race once the race has got himself started. R2 Beat, like I said, and Pot Stuff on the medium compound tyres. Vessia opting for the hard compound tyres in P9 then. Only a few opting for a different strategy to start off this race then. And Vessia then is the highest runner then on the hard compound tyres then. Gordo and Jay Hings, and then the Aston Martins opting for the medium. Same for Plotters and Irvine, who is not in the car, unfortunately. Yes, so hopefully he can get himself back in before the race start. Opting for the medium compound tyres. Reflection and Fast going for the hard compound tyres, P14 and 15 respectively as well. Then Tonto in P16 on the medium compound tyres, and then we've got Vanquish on the hards. Then both the McLarens on the medium compound tyres of Donald Dons and Real Ashton, and Riyadh bringing up the rear, although I think he just didn't get time in qualifying, unfortunately. Then it did the Red Bull car, but he's starting on the hard compound tyres then in the Red Bull, then bringing up the back of the grid then as it stands. In the front of the grid is already on the start finish straight then, waiting for Riyadh and co to catch up then as we go lining up into our grid slots. Then Irvine has rejoined again then, so unfortunately I don't think he's going to take the race start because of the AI glitches. Then you need to wait until the race has already started before you join. Unfortunately that is just the way it works then these days. So there we go then. Right, then here we are lining up on the grid then, and I think apart from Kamara Racer, everyone else has been able to park in their grid slots pretty perfectly so far. So good stuff indeed then. Just waiting for the McLarens to get themselves into the box, and we can get those 5 red lights on here in Japan then. Here we go then, I think. Yes, 5 red lights are on in Japan then. Here we go then for the Japanese Grand Prix. 5 red lights are on, the 5 red lights are off, and away we go then for silver round 4, and down towards turn 1. Both the Mercedes going to go side by side, and Beast has got himself ahead of his championship rival and his teammate of Kiki into turn 1, and he's got the lead of the Grand Prix then. Fantastic stuff indeed. We'll switch to the position changes to see what's going on here, but so far so good then. Unfortunately we've got yellow flags then. It's Irvine's car, and like I was saying, that is why you can't join in a formation lap. Unfortunately Irvine's car is off the circuit, and I think he's having some sort of issues then as well. Then Real Ashton Army is battling away then with a Reflection and Kaz as well then, Don of the Dons I should say then, but Reflection's lost out 4 places unfortunately there. Must have had an issue somewhere as well then in the lap there, in the opening first sector that is as well. Then so far so good for the rest of the field. Then yellow flag still fluttering, it's for Irvine, and Irvine is he is underway. I think he's in the car. He's lost his front wing now, and yes, so Irvine, you just need to get yourself back to the pit lane, sir, and that will be sorted out then. I'm not quite sure what's going on then for Irvine. He's having a few problems, it would seem. Then Gordo, oh my goodness me, Gordo and Plotters then banging wheels in as we go through the spoon curve then on the first lap. Calm down, boys. Irvine has left the session, and unfortunately for Irvine, he's having a few problems out there. Like I was saying, this is why you do not join during a formation lap then. But unfortunately for Irvine, I don't think he knew that, and unfortunately that has cost him the start of this race at least, and potentially if it as a safety car can get himself back in it. But he of course has got that front wing damage that his AI car will now probably pit for. Plotter's got himself past the other Aston Martin of Jay Hings, then up into the top 10 now for the Red Bull car, and trying to catch up to the Ferrari pair as well as we go into turn 1. Then it's close indeed between Gordo and Jay Hings. And Irvine is back in the session again, I think. Fingers crossed he can get himself back in the car as well, but unfortunately, like I said, not going too well for Irvine out there, unfortunately. Out in front though, looking good for Mercedes so far. Then on to lap 2, here we go, flying around the first Dunlop, then into Degner 1 and Degner 2, and Beast then takes the lead. Then he's got Kiki for company then as a shield, I suppose you could say. Then maybe a bit of teamwork then from the Mercedes outfit as well. Then I think that flash means Irvine is in the car, he's back in the session, then he's back in the pit lane then as well. And unfortunately for Irvine, he's got a front wing change to deal with as well then, as well in this first couple of laps as well then for the Haas pair then, or Haas team I should say then, unfortunately for him then. But hopefully or anything that can come back to I should say to Irvine, then potentially can get himself back in this race then if it's a safety car or something like that as well then. So far so good then. Out in front then, Kiki is trying to keep up with his teammate, then he's losing out of touch slightly then, but DRS now enabled, then he has to stay within that 1 second window to try and keep within that keep that rear wing open then down the main straight. There's only 1 DRS detection and 1 DRS activation point around here as well. Beast, what's happened to Beast then? I completely missed it. Beast has had an issue somewhere, and Beast has gone off the circuit and dropped down to P4 then. Kiki takes the lead, but I didn't even see what happened then. I don't know if anybody caught it, to be honest. But goodness me, that was very odd indeed. I didn't see what happened to Beast. I think maybe just had an issue then into the Casio triangle and then locked up and lost positions because of that as well then. And now down to P4 then, the former race leader, of course, after leading into the first corner on the first lap, getting past his teammate then. But unfortunately, it just hasn't had the luck then on this second lap, has he? Then he's on to lap 3 then, trying to get himself back into the podium places, then trying to chase down Sweet MGP. Then Mumford, his championship rival, then is right behind Beast as well. Now Mumford will be smelling blood here as well if the Mercedes, if the Beast is vulnerable here in towards the hairpin. I thought he was going to go for a move down the inside there, but not quite then for Mumford. He stays behind for the time being. Beast lost the rear in the last chicane, says ALR Esports. Thank goodness for ALR Esports and being on the ball there, because I was spectating and trying to talk about this race and I missed it myself. So there we go. But fantastic stuff indeed. Now here comes Beast. He's on the charge and he's trying to get himself back up into the podium places. Like I said, then all over the back now of Sweet MGP. Sweet MGP could hold up Beast here and be very useful for his championship, well, his teammate, I should say, then for Mumford's sake. And also for the championship as well. Then Plotter's getting himself past Vessia. Then of course Vessia is on the hard compound tyres, so he's going to be a bit slower at this stage of the race compared to those on the nicely warmed up medium compound tyres. But Plotters is having all sorts of issues trying to get himself through the fast chicane then and down towards the start-finish straight. And Vessia is now going to try and go for a move back then for the position. Here he goes then, and here comes Jay Hings round the out. No, it's Gordo round the outside as well then. And Plotters then, it looked like he was on the attack then for P9, but he's lost out to 2 then into the S's section as well. Then Jay Hings now is into the fight as well then, with Tonto coming through too as well. Then all coming bunched together then here in the S's section then. And not where you want to be bunched together really. Then this is an S's section that you can't really do on your own sometimes, and let alone trying to go side by side through there. But they've managed it very nicely indeed. Then all single file now through the first and second dangers then in towards the second half of the lap as well here. Lap 4 has commenced then. Out in front, MHD is half a second away from Kiki. Sweet MGP is in the battle as well then for the race lead. Ultimate Beast has got himself back in the charge as well, so Mumford as well. Then Kamara Racer is doing a great job out there. I don't want to curse him. Potstuff P7 then brings up this train then for the race lead. Then R2B is 1.7 seconds behind as it stands out there. But he is doing a good job as well then on the medium compound tyres. Then Vessia is holding on to P9 for the time being. He's now got Gordo for company as we cross over to the 130R once again then. And flying across this lovely section of track, and the fastest section of the track as well then. Beast has got himself past Sweet MGP, has he? Oh no, where are they? They're side by side through the Casio triangle then, as Beast has got the position, I think, just up into P3. Then he's ahead. Tonto picks up the first penalty then of the evening. Here comes MHD for the race lead, and he takes the race lead here as Mumford and Sweet MGP coming together. The Alpines closing into each other then at turn 1, and both of them wheel banging as well then. Mumford up into P3, then Beast is down into P4, back down to P4, and Sweet MGP then stays P5 then, and both the Alpines have somehow switched positions in that, and Beast has stayed exactly where he was. So that is blimey, pretty interesting stuff indeed then. Kamara Racer then is going very wide through Dunlop then. Hopefully I haven't cursed him. And as for Serious Mushroom then, previously we hope that we haven't cursed him. If it is, it's one of us. It's either Mushroom or me cursing somebody, so don't worry. It's in the comment section from him or in the commentary box from me. So whichever one is worse, you can just confirm it in the comment section after the race. Gordo then is got himself past Plotters and Vessia. Then Vessia's dropped down to P11 for the time being on the hard compound tyres, but he's still in the fight. And R2B now has got a 1.9 second gap then to the top 7, who have started to sprint away. Then Beast has almost lost out that DRS then, but he's now putting the power down then. Some ERS to play with then from Mercedes team as we go over the crest of the hill. Then on lap 5, then down towards 130R once again. So far so good out there as we get ourselves on to the next stage, and as Beast once again locking up then into the triangle. And I think that's what we saw. What ALR Esports confirmed was the problem then for Beast, as we saw him lose the lead then down to P4 then. Here comes Mumford then. Mumford trying to line up a move then for the race lead, but no, Kiki then goes for the race lead then into turn 1. He gets the place back from MHD as we go into turn 1 on Mumford. I thought he was going to try and sneak down the inside of the racing ball then, but he couldn't quite make it then into the S's section. We go once again 7 then for the race leaders, then everyone else in close proximity behind as well, then 2 seconds down to P8 I should say, from P7 of Potstuff, then Potstuff holding on to the back of the train here as it stands then, but the Ferrari is waiting in the wings, then potentially can catch up then if anything goes awry then for the top 7. Then Gordo stays P9, Plotters stays in the top 10 for the time being as well, then Vessia then on the hard compound tyres just trying to hold on to the medium runners then who are just inside the top 10 for the time being. But of course those there's penalties then as R2 beats off the circuit of the second Degner as well, then trying to get himself back underway, but he's going to be costly, it's going to be costly for him I should say, as Tonto's going to go, Tonto's trying to go through over the curb then, and I think that unsettled the Haas car then. R2 beat it back through then, but R2 beats lost a few places then after that. Now I think that it was down from P8 then down to P12 unfortunately, 4 places lost then for the Ferrari driver, then flicking it into the spoon curve, trying to get himself back under composure and back underway here in Japan. Need more audio, I think. There we go. Perfect stuff. Right then, flying through then 130R, then R2B trying to catch up to the back of the pack once again then as we fly through the Casio Triangle. Gordo all over the back then of Plotters, who's now taken that P8 position but has now got a 3-second gap then to the top 7 then out in front. No changes being made. Then here comes Gordo, then he's going to try and change it here into P8 then for the Aston Martin. Yes, he is flying through then up into the up into turn 1, then up into P8 now for the Aston Martin of car number 5. Then Riyadh and Vanquish switching places, then Vanquish then up into P15 as these two of course on the hard compound tyres here as we go through the S's section once again. Then so far so good then for these two of course on the hard compound tyres. They're going to be going longer in the first stint of this race then as we get ourselves through this Grand Prix as well. Then Kiki leads the way then, half a second or so then to MHD. Then now it's Mumford in P3, Beast in P4, then Sweeter P then in P5. As it stands, and this is quite interesting, as it stands, and if Mumford finishes P3 and Beast finishes P4, they're once again joint at the top of the standings then in silver, that is, after 4 rounds then on equal points. Then I think it would still go to Beast then on countback, but technically on mathematics they would be on the same points then, so that's pretty cool indeed. There we go then, that's your maths attack, your stat attack then for today. That's as far as I can do with the stats then. No, it's Plotters who had an issue then. Plotters has got a virtual safety car then. He's lost the front wing and he's back underway there, but I'm not quite sure. It's that exit of spoon curve then, and that is quite costly indeed then. We might see some stops then. Is it too early for the race leaders to come into the pits then? We'll have to wait and see. Kiki stays out then. Beast stays out. The top 4 stayed out. Top 5, top 6 stayed out then. Gordo is into the box then. Gordo is calling it from this from P8 in this race. And R2B has got a 10-second penalty for speeding into the pit lane, unfortunately for the Ferrari driver. That is bad news indeed. Then where is Gordo then? Gordo's onto a set of hard compound tyres and trundling back out the pit lane. This could be very well timed indeed if Gordo can get himself out of the box then before the VSC goes away. Then there's a few other drivers then. Tonto's in the pit lane, so is Plotters as well then after that wing change then for the Red Bull car. Real Achinari I think is too far back then to catch up, and same for Irvine as well then, unfortunately, as out of the pit lane comes the pit stoppers as Reflection gets a drive-through penalty then, and that is costly indeed then for the Williams driver. Then he's going just a bit too fast over the Delta then when the VSC did expire then, unfortunately for Williams. That's going to be very bad news indeed as well then as we go through the second Degner then for Reflection. Then where will he come out if he has to pit? I think he will come out around where Tonto is as well then, P17 I would imagine, roughly around there, which is bad news indeed then for the Williams car, that is. But nonetheless, he's got to soldier on now and serve that drive-through as quickly as possible. Then anybody else get the drive-through there? It was just the penalties for R2 beat then speeding into the pit lane. Then Gordo's come out on fresh hard compound tyres, and he is 5 seconds away then from Don of the Dons in the McLaren in P14. So that is it's not a bad place to be then. Fresh air then on fresh tyres. Will he be able to catch up? Will he be able to hold on for the rest of this race then and get himself back in this race as well? Then we'll have to find out where will that extra pit stop, early pit stop I should say, where will that early pit stop put him in this race then. Kamara Racer just about losing out to DRS then of the top 5. Then here comes Potstuff on the attack, then up into P6 now for the Green Machine, and he's up into P6 now is Potstuff then in the Kick Sauber now trying to chase down the top 5 once again. Then if they can try and catch up with Potstuff, needs to try and get himself back in that 1 second window as well then of the top 5. Then the Alpines, the Mercedes and the MHD, Nick. So far, so good out there for the top 5. But there we go. Then Potsdam trying to close in. Then Kamara trying to go with him as well. Then as we go through the Dunlop curve, and then Kamara Racer pushing too hard. But once again, then we've seen this from him plenty of times in the races. He doesn't need to push too hard on that occasion. Then hopefully he can just keep the composure and keep his head down as well. Then he's on for some good points here as well, regardless of what happens ahead of him as well. Jay Hings back in the points as well now into P9, then trying to chase after Vess here as well on those medium compound tyres, sorry, I should say then. But so far so good then. Favre has got himself up into the top 10. Oh goodness me, that's dangerous stuff indeed. And Beast has overtaken his championship rival, has he? What's happened there? They've ghosted. Okay, interesting stuff indeed. And Mumford has gone wide then. I think that might be a warning then for the Alpine. Not quite sure what happened there, but Mumford seemed to be ghosting for me, and Beast just went through him. So, well, I suppose that's fair enough as an overtake if your opponent is ghosted. Yes, not quite sure what happened there either. So there we are. But down the hill then to finish off lap 9 then. Lap 10 has commenced, sorry, as we go on to the start-finish rate then once again. Then Kiki then still leads the way, MHD in P2, then Beast now up into P3, then trying to get himself back in the fight then, and he's made contact with the back of MHD, and this time the roles are reversed this time then with the ghosting, that is, and Mumford is now ahead then of the Beast this time as well then. So I'm not quite sure how they're doing it or what's going on there, but nonetheless, they have got themselves sorted out once again then, I think, or back underway then, I should say. I'm not quite sure what is going on between these two. But what's a championship fight then without a bit of ghosting going on then between the two championship contenders, I should say. So far, so good then. Thankfully, no incidents for those two, which is promising. Potsdam almost back in that 1 second window. Then Kamara Racing trying to hold on to that pack as well then. So far, so good then. Jay Hings couldn't get himself past Vessia then on the previous lap. Then can he go for it later on in this one? We will see then the medium compound tyres might be starting to fade here as Gordo is catching up now to Donald Donzen, who's now 1.2 seconds behind the McLaren here. Into the hairpin goes Gordo, of course, on the freshest tyres on of the field, I should say. He, of course, is pitted under that VSC for the hard compound tyres. And can he get to the end of the race from here? 20 laps or so then on these hard compound tyres, I think is doable then. But will they be competitive? Oh, my goodness me, then onto the grass for Gordo then. And that is going to be costly indeed then for the Aston Martin. And unfortunately, he's pushing a bit too hard, I think, there is Gordo then. Lost sight then of the track limits then, and went over the side then. Vanquish has got himself past Farf into P10 for the time being. Yes, he has. And now up into the top 10 then for the kick machine. But I think DRS is available for Vanquish actually as we go down the start-finish rate. So I think Farf then not going to be able to battle back at this stage on those hard compound tyres. But there we go then. Riyadh is also into the top 12 now. But Riyadh, of course, started from the back of the field, and so far so good. Then Gordo gets himself past the McLaren of Dons and up into P13. 9 seconds the gap then to the top 12 then, so he's got quite a lot of catching up to do then, has Gordo. We'll have to wait and see then if that is manageable then for the Aston Martin driver. Then we'll have to find out later on in the race, that is. But we've still got plenty of time then to unfold it. Of course, there is quite a lot of drivers who stopped then under the VSC for the hard compound tyres, and Plotters was one of them. Of course, he actually, I think, brought out the VSC with the wing damage that he received at the exit of Spoon, and now is trying to get himself back underway on those hard compound tyres, flying through into Dunlop curve as well here. Out in front, the ghosting seems to have stopped for a while, and once again then Mumford, as we've got more yellow flags. It's Real Ashton then. He's had an issue then into the S's section. He's got himself back underway then. He's got himself, I think his wing is intact as well then. So it must have just been a bit of a spin then for the McLaren. And he's got himself back underway, thankfully, and back into the race as well then. Good stuff indeed then. Like I was saying, I can't remember what I was saying then, but it looks like the challenges then for the title, only 4 rounds in then, as we've got pit activity then for Beast. Then Beast is in the box then for the Mercedes team. Then he's calling it early, and sweet MGP. What has happened to the Alpine then? My God, that was a bit. That was big. It's a wing change up. He's going to have to chop. He can't change his wing. Then he's crashed into the pit entry. Then as Sweet MGP that, and as Gordo set the fastest lap of the race. Then he's crashed into the pit entry. Then has Sweet MGP then, and he's cost himself a wing then as well. Then unfortunately for the Alpine, coming back out of the pit lane now. There's a Ferrari involved here as well. Then of R2B trying to get himself past Tonto. And he has got himself past Tonto, I think. Then both of these drivers, of course, have pitted. Ultimate Beast is back out of the box, and he is in P13. He's behind Don of the Dons, then he's behind Gordo by about 4 or 4.5 seconds or so as well. Then Gordo is currently in a net race lead, then it sounds like, or it looks like, which is quite promising stuff indeed then for Gordo. But of course he's on older tyres than the rest of the field will be when they do pit, of course. Then he will be having to challenge, having to fight then, or fight off the drivers I should say then from behind rather than trying to attack. Then he's going to be defending in this latter stages of this race then, but still 15 laps to go before the checkered flag falls here as we go through towards the spoon curve now. 7 seconds the gap then to the top 10 for Gordo. Of course the 4 in the top 10, just about in the top 10 I should say then, are on the hard compound tyres as well then, so they'll be going longer in this first stint. But here comes Vanquish and Farf, then contact I think then, but they've got themselves through then just about then in one piece, that is. Into the pits comes the top 4 then. Kamara Racer is carrying on here into lap 13, and Kamara then soldiering on those medium compound tyres, then takes the race lead here in Japan. Good stuff indeed then from Kamara Racer. Then Vessia then carries on, of course, so does Vanquish, so does Farf, and so does Riyadh as well. Then in towards turn 1 then, I thought it was going to be carnage there, but they've got themselves through it unscathed. So far so good. Brilliant stuff indeed then. Gordo now up into P6 then after making that stop under the VSC. Promising stuff indeed then for Gordo. Then MHD has come out ahead of Beast, has he? MHD has come out ahead of Beast. Then where is Beast then in relation to the Racing Bull? Then he's only about a second behind, but he's going to have to try and catch up. Then Kiki has come out behind his teammate of Beast then, and Mumford has come out behind both Mercedes as well then. So that one extra lap then for Ultimate Beast has been beneficial indeed then for the championship leader. Then he's got himself ahead of his rival and ahead of his teammate in this one as well. Then brilliant stuff indeed then. Yellow flags again, then yellow flags again for Reflection, I think. Reflection in the S's section has had an issue, got himself back underway just about, I think then, has he? Yes he has, but unfortunately for the Williams driver then, he's struggling out there as well. Then he comes back onto the circuit then and back underway then, but unfortunately for Reflection, not having a good time out there. And Irvine has done a great job actually of just soldiering on in this race. Then he's going to try to get himself back in the fight, I should say. Tonto's trying to get himself past Don of the Dons. Then Don of the Dons yet to pit, then he's on old medium compound tyres and fresh hard compound tyres for Tonto. He's got himself through then into P12, then up past the McLaren, and now trying to chase down R2 Beat as well then in this fight. Then R2 Beat has got himself in the train then for the net race lead then, because he's now in the fight with Mumford, with Kiki, with Beast, and with MHD as well then, as we cross into lap 14. Then Vessia carries on, then Kamara Racer is in the box, then he's calling it a day finally then on the medium compound tyres, and there's a set of hard compound tyres going on the Williams car as well. Back underway we go then. Gordo's going to go up to P5, then he's got himself through, then he's got a nice gap, then he's got a 9-second gap then back to MHD, has he? Beast has got himself a move then for the net second place I should say. As it stands then, he is 3 seconds behind Gordo right now as well. Then that gap is going to close, I think, especially in the latter stages of this race. Then Beast then trying to lose the car almost over the curbs, and he's got himself a bit of car control to manage then. Still got COVID cough. But so far so good then. Into the pits comes Don of the Dons then onto a set of hard compound tyres, and back underway then for the McLaren team then. Gabriela Arguello is fantastic stuff indeed. What a name indeed as well then. Lovely to see you in the comment section. I'm sure you're a lovely person as well then. Riyadh is getting through the spoon curve then in towards the next part of the lap then. That's made me laugh. But Riyadh then's trying to put the pressure on Farf then for that P2 position now. Of course, the top 4 have yet to pit then, so they will have to come into the box at some point in this race. But when that will be is a different question. We'll have to find out. Maybe Gabriella can tell us, but we're not quite sure. But maybe Gabriella's got all the insight then into F1 racing that we need to know. Then we'll have to wait and see what the comment section is going to say. As into the pits comes Farf then, and Riyadh as well. Then so both of them into the box. Then there's contact, as Farf has been hit into the pits by Riyadh, and Riyadh's got himself, I think, some wing damage there as well then. So that is brilliant stuff indeed. Then that is definitely not how to enter the pit lane, if you were wondering. I think the wing is intact then for the Red Bull car. Farf is not going to be too happy about that though, but there we go. Then we'll have to wait and see if that's going to be removed after the race. We'll find out. So far so good out there as well. Then MHD now onto the back of Ultimate Beast. Then 1.9 seconds the gap to Gordo. I think those hard compact tyres for Gordo are starting to struggle compared to the fresh tyres for Beast. But Gordo is in a good position here. If he can hold on, then he can hold on as long as he can. Then he will be in a prime position later on in this race. Then Reflection into the box then in P18, then onto a set of medium compound tyres. Sweet Energy P picks up a 3-second penalty as well then for his troubles. I think Sweet Energy P is struggling out there with the wing damage still. He's still going actually on the hard compound tyres without that wing or the end plate then on the left hand side of that Alpine. And so yeah, unfortunately for the Alpine of Sweet Energy P, he's still having to battle on then with that wing damage then. Out in front then we've got a Vessia there coming through to finish off lap 15 here. It's all kicking off in the pits, says Mushroom. Yes, and Favre was involved as well then, which is not a surprise. Then into the pits comes the race leader then, which is Vessia then trying to slow the car down and into the box. Then here comes Vanquish as well then. And his Vanquish has got a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane then, so the pit lane then was not, pit lane speed was not observed then by the Ferrari, by the Kick Sauber. Oh my god. Gordon then takes the lead then, but he's now got a 1.9-second gap then over Beast then, who is currently charging down then that time then to the Aston Martin into the S's section. Then MHD, Mumford, Kiki are following through then. The top 5 now very closely packed together then. R2 Beat then down in P6 then, but he's 1.4 seconds off the top 5 then. Potstuff has got much fresher tyres then. Can he get himself back in the fight then for some big points here in the Kick Sauber? Tonto's in that fight as well then. Here comes Kamara Racers on fresher hard compound tyres, the freshest hard compound tyres in the top 10 so far as well then, which is pretty good stuff indeed for later in the race then for Kamara Racer. Sweet Repeat then rounds off the top 10, but of course he's struggling out there with the wing damage as well then for that Alpine. Then Jay Hings then is going to be closing in on that Alpine very soon for the top 10 position. Then I think Jay Hings is in the fight then for that place, for that point as well then, potentially more points as well then if he can get himself past quickly as well then. Plotters in P12 then on the hard compound tyres trying to soldier on out there as well. Then he pitted early under the VSC, and that is why he's so far down unfortunately at this stage of the race, and had to pit for a wing change as well then, didn't he? So he has got that sorted and back underway. Kick Alpine, says Rocky Lisa. Yeah, I think we can invent a new team. It depends how hard they crash together then, how much of a Kick Alpine comes out on the other end, I suppose. But yeah, 9 months later you'll see a Kick Alpine come out of the two of them then. But there we are. Yes, well there's my newest invention, and that'll be that then. Jay Hings now lining up a move then for P10 then. Can he get himself in the points? Yes he can then, with some DRS then. He's powered past the Alpine, just the Alpine, and into turn 1 and 2 then Jay Hings, then the Aston Martin, if I can get the team names right, then he's up into the points then, up into the top 10 now, and powering on then. Can he get himself closer to the rest of the field then? We've got Tonto and we've got R2B on penalties and on much older tyres then, so potentially towards the end of the race then Jay Hings could be in line for capitalising on that and potentially get himself 2 extra places with the penalty situation as well. Then Jay Hings needs to get his foot down and try and keep within those penalties then for the 2 ahead of him, and potentially get some extra moves as well done and dusted. Then Kamara Racer all over the back now of Tonto for that P8 position. Evening Rocket as well then. It's okay Mushroom. So Mushroom has gone for a shower then, so that is an insight into the Mushroom's life. He has been showering today, so there we go then, much more than myself and Ginger Rage. But there we go. Kamara Racer then on the power, then trying to get himself as close as he can then to the Haas of Tonto, but Tonto trying to get himself as close as he can then to the Kick Sauber of Potstuff then, to try and get that DRS wing open then down the main straight, to use that as a defensive mechanism potentially as well. Then Plotters has been passed then by Vessia, who's on the medium compound tyres and flying out there on those fresher medium compound tyres as well. Then in towards the Casio triangle we go, and Vessia then has got himself a challenge now for the next position, which is the Alpine, as Gordo and Beast are battling then for the race lead then, and into turn 1 and 2 then, not quite though, but here comes Beast kind of trying to go down the outside, then he's going to go for the inside, he's going to go all sorts of ways, but he can't quite get himself through as Sweet is back in the pit lane. Then he's sorting out that wing change, or sorting out that front wing I should say then, whereas Vessia has got himself up into P11 now, passes Sweet. I think he's had to come into the box then to sort out that front wing because it was just not working for him, unfortunately. Then Kamara Racer is all over the back of Tonto here as well, then in towards Dunlop, then into the first Degner as well. And not really a traditional overtaking place then around this circuit, but oh dear, what's happened? What's happened to Beast? It's Beast who's had an issue. Then Beast is back underway. Then there's all sorts of carnage. Then in the race lead, then Gordo's lost the lead to MHD and into the hairpin. Somebody's had an issue then, because well, Gordo's lost out to the race lead then, and Beast has lost out as well. Then he's had an issue somewhere as well. Then into the hairpin section of this lap. Then, and I'm not quite sure what has gone on there. But regardless, then it's a bit overzealous, maybe. I'm not quite sure. Overheated potentially. As here comes Mumford on the attack. Then into 130R, trying to get himself up into P3 past his championship rival. Not quite this time though. And goodness me, whatever happened into that hairpin has really spiced up the race then for the top five, I should say, with Kiki involved. But I think Kiki is just being wise then. Kiki is just sitting back in this one as R2B is into the box then. R2B is calling it a day then on the hard compound tyres. Interesting stuff indeed then. Gordo retakes the lead into turn one then. And back underway then we go as Beast is trying to get himself past MHD as well, then round the outside. Then what a move then from Beast, then trying to get himself through, and he's got himself up into P2, then passes MHD, and Mumford has gone through as well then in the Alpine, then up into the top three. Then again status quo then as it stands, because there's only a 3-point gap then, but of course it needs to be roles reversed. I completely forgot about that. It needs to be roles reversed, and if they want to be finishing this round then on the same points as Mumford and Beast. Beast is currently extending his championship lead by another 3 points, then that would mean it be a 6-point gap to Mumford in the standings. As it is, that is, of course, and Gordo is actually, I think Gordo might be challenging for the top 3 as well, to be honest. I think he's in the top 3 as well already. Somebody will have to check the comments, not the comments, the standings in the Discord then, whilst I commentate then, and let me know in the comment section, because I believe Gordo is actually P3 in the silver standings already after round 3. So this win, if he can keep hold of the win, that is, could be absolutely phenomenal then for Gordo, if he can keep it under wraps then. But Beast is going to have something to say about that then. I think Mumford's going to have something to say about that as well then, as we go towards 130R once again then, as we fly through 130R once again then. And here we come then into the Casio Triangle. Gordo holds on to the race lead for the time being still then, but Beast is lining up a move then with some DRS. There's wheel spin then for Gordo coming out of the final corner then. There's going to be DRS available then for the Mercedes and for the Alpine of Mumford and for the MHD and for the Kiki as well then. But here comes, oh my goodness me, that was dangerous from Beast then. And Gordo trying to hold on to the position around the outside. Then goes Mumford as well then. And I think Mumford has got the position. Has he up into P2? Yes, he has. Then up into P2. Then MHD and Kiki are switching places as well in the background. Through the S's section, side by side for the Mercedes and the Racing Bull. This is getting tense indeed then. And Kiki has made the move. And up into P4. Fantastic stuff indeed then. Kamara Race has got himself up into P7 now and is trying to chase down Potsdam once again. These two are resuming their battle. Tonto's dropped down to P8 then, and unfortunately, where was R2B? R2B was pitted again for a set of medium compound tyres, so interesting stuff indeed from R2B as well then. But goodness me, that battling was getting intense indeed, wasn't it? Then 7 laps remain at the end of this one. Gordo has got to do another 7 laps on those hard compound tyres. He's only got 4 lap older tyres than Beast, but Beast is under pressure from Mumford, and Mumford has taken the race lead into the spoon curve then. Brilliant stuff indeed from the Alpine. He flies ahead then and takes that position very comfortably indeed. And brilliant stuff indeed from the 2 championship contenders as well. Then these 2 are fighting tooth and nail for the maximum points here in this Grand Prix. And I think this is going to go on to the checkered flag as well now, because these 2 are going to be very close indeed on track. Here comes Mumford then trying to defend the position, then into the Casio Triangle. Then he holds on to the race lead for the time being. Beast then stays behind him, but now he has DRS then down the main straight once again. Then can he challenge for the race lead this time for the Beast? As there in the background then is Kiki trying to challenge for the podium places as well. Then here comes Beast and he takes the race lead. He's up into P1 then, and Gordo holds off Kiki for the time being in P3. For the, oh my goodness me, I thought it was close indeed, but no, they've done a good job then as well. Then Riyadh has got himself past Farf then into turn 1 and 2. Then Riyadh up into P12 now, of course started from the back of the field. Can he get himself into the top 10 is the question then for Riyadh. Then it's going to be close indeed. I think he's only 2.5 seconds off the top 10 as it stands. So far so good then. Sweden to be set the fastest lap of the race then. Good stuff indeed from the Alpine driver who had that wing damage and had to pit again then, didn't he? But he has made that extra stop then onto a fresh set of boots then, and a fresh front wing as well. Potsdam trying to get himself back in this battle then for the top 5 then. 1.3 seconds the gap, 1.1 seconds the gap is flying down actually for Potsdam. Can he get himself back in that 1 second window is the question. Out in front then, 4/10 of a second the gap between Mumford and Beast now as we go into lap 21, the dying embers of lap 21. We're going to have 6 laps remaining at the end of this lap. So far so good. Only 4 penalties out there as well. We'll have a quick look at the penalty situation. It is 3 seconds for Tonto. Currently we're keeping him inside the top 10. 10 seconds for Far for speeding in the pit lane. I think that might be removed because he was punted into the pit lane. 16 seconds for Vanquish, and then 3 seconds for Sweet Repeat. Then I'm not quite sure what happened there, but I think Vanquish did speed into the pit lane as well. So that is one of his 10-second penalties. One of his penalties regardless anyway. Here comes Mumford then. Front alarms move. Can he repeat the feat then? Can he copy the feat then from Beast as we go down towards the first turn? Once again then DRS available, then Far picks up a 3-second penalty. Here comes Mumford on the inside of turn 1, and yes, he's got himself into the lead. So far so good then, and Gordo holds on once again then to that P3 position as well, staying in the podium places now for the Aston Martin. He is doing a great job in there, battling then with much fresher tyres for the rest around him. So far so good then. Far's got himself back past Riyadh. There's contact, and Riyadh has got himself back underway quickly enough to unfortunately he's lost out then to Favre, but he's got himself back underway very quickly indeed, and has Riyadh. Brilliant stuff indeed then. So far so good then. It's starting to heat up here in Suzuka then, isn't it, for Silver? As now into the second deck we go then. Kamara Racer is flying out there. He's doing a good job. He's now got Tonto for company. Then Vess here trying to close in on this battling pack as well. Then Jay Hings then is doing a great job inside the points for the time being as well. Then if he can drop plotters, then he's got nothing to worry about then in that DRS window, I should say. But out in front, we need to keep an eye on this battle here. Gordo's almost lost out to the DRS of the top two. Then the top two might start to spread their wings and fly away here in Japan. But let's see if Gordo can hold on for the time being as well. Then as we fly down the up the hill then towards 130R, then onto the back straight then to finish off lap 22 of 27. Then 5 laps remain at the end of this one. And here comes Ultimate Beast then into the triangle. Then not quite close enough. Then Gordo has lost out. Then Gordo's lost the DRS. Then unfortunately to the top two. Then the Kiki. Oh, Kiki's gone wide. Then what's happened to Kiki? Then he's lost out. Then and here comes Potstuff as well. Then Potstuff's gone through, and Kiki's had an issue. Then, and Beast has taken back the race lead. Then MHD then into P4. Then can he line up a move into turn 1? Not quite. He's too far back. Then Kiki's back past Potstuff with some DRS as well. My goodness me, then Kiki then from P4 lost out. Then he's had another issue, unfortunately. Not so bad this time. Then Riyadh has got himself back past Favre. There's these two carry on their battle. Then Vanquish is now involved as well. And blimey, it's getting spicy out there, isn't it? Brilliant stuff indeed. But unfortunately, Gordo is lost out then to DRS. Then the top two, then it could be Beast or Mumford. Then it seems like it's going to be Beast or Mumford then in most races then, but it seems like it's gone that way, especially in this one. And so far, it is the Beast then who has got the race lead, the race win in under his belt. But of course there's still 4 laps to go after this one as well. Then we'll have to wait and see. Then Gordo trying to get himself back in that fight then, but MHD now is on the attack then for that P3 with that final podium place as well. Here comes Kiki as well. Then Kiki's in the fight now. Potstuff with that mistake from Kiki has now got himself in DRS range of the top 5 then, and Kamara Racer is coming through as well then, although he's gone wide at the spoon curve. Then Tonto is also in that fight as well, being dragged along then with the DRS as well then for the Haas car, which is going to be good news indeed if he can get himself that 3-second gap then to Vessia. Then it will keep him in P8 then with the penalty situation then for Tonto. So far so good then. Driver of the day is out in the comment section. Gordo's up 7 places, Mumford up 3 places, then potentially could be up 4 places here as it goes for a move then for the race lead. Then on to lap 24. Then here comes Mumford then on the charge. Then DRS is wide open. Then here comes the Alpine then down the inside. Then he's got the position. He's up into the race lead once again. Then MHD's got himself past Gordo, now up into the podium places then as well, as Gordo then has to fight and sit back, or has to sit back for the time being then and wait for another opportunity to try and get himself back past the racing bull. Then Potstuff up even to P6, then he's gained a place. Then Tonto's gained 8 places, then he's doing a great job. Then he's just about within that 3-second range. Then to Vessia into the pits comes Real Ashton Army. Then he's trying to get himself the fastest lap point potentially here. We will wait and see then. So Vessia then he's actually retired in the pit lane. Never mind. I'm not quite sure why you do that. Retire on the with only 3 laps to go now. But interesting stuff indeed nonetheless. Driver of the day is Gordo, Mumford, Riyadh and Beast. Your candidates then as Far picks up a penalty then as well. Then Riyadh is in line for currently getting himself into the top 10 potentially as well. Then Riyadh, where is the rest of the field? Well, I can't remember who it was now. Mumford, Gordo was top 5, top 4. Then here we go. So far so good. Then like I was saying, Gordo, Mumford, Beast are your other candidates as well. Then, and they are vying for the podium places. Then they could be. Well, we don't know what the order is going to be at all, do we? But we'll have to find out then in the next few laps. Fingers crossed we will do. As Mumford then has taken the lead. Then he's now got Beast then to try and go for the move. Then down towards turn 1. I think roles reverse. Then whoever's going to be leading on to lap 27. Is going to be in a bit of danger, I think, then, because of the DRS then available for the car behind then as we go flying down the main straight here. And Beast, I think, is too far back at this occasion then to make a move then. Gordo isn't too far back. No, Gordo's made a move back for P3. There's contact between Kiki and MHD into turns 1 and 2 then, and MHD's trying to hold on to that P4 position. Yes, he has done just about then, as Vanquish has had an issue. Has he? No, he hasn't. He's just been passed then by 2 cars, I think. Then Riyadh and Farf then flying past him into turns 1 and 2 then, with some DRS and some ERS assistance as well then. So that is that then. Irvine's done a great job out there as well then. To be fair, Irvine is cracking on then. He's put on a shift then in this race. And unfortunate that he wasn't able to take the race start. And that was just because of a disconnect issue. Beast locking up the inside left then into the hairpin, and now he's got a 7/10 of a second gap then to Mumford as well then. This gap could, if it's going to start to extend, then this could be dangerous stuff indeed for Beast, but he's now bringing it back under control. MHD then trying to keep Gordo honest as well. Then Kiki is in the fight then. Kiki down 4 places. Unfortunately for Kiki, it's just been one of those races once again then where he's had a couple of mistakes then that's cost him dearly, but he's still been battling on with some big points then for Mercedes then. Of course, it is looking very good for Mercedes in the constructor standings for silver, as they are in quite good control of the standings at this stage. And that is the rain falling outside my window. It's not me going through a tinkle, but there we go then. As contact between Kiki and MHD then, and MHD has gone off the circuit there, and he's got a 3-second penalty for his troubles as well. Then I think that will have to be rescinded then, because he was really shoved off the circuit massively then by Kiki, and Kiki then is going to be not MHD's Christmas card list book or whatever it is then, Christmas card address list or whatever it is, as oh my god, I think he's got wing damage there as well then, has MHD then, that he's going to have to soldier on after that one. Lap 26 then of 27, the penultimate lap of the race here. Let's see how it's going to unfold then between the 2 championship rivals then. As it stands then, Mumford and Beast are separated at the top of the standings after 3 rounds only, but separated at the top of the standings then by only 3 points then in favour of Beast, and so far we might see a bit of a change in that as well then so far, as Mumford then is holding on to the race lead for the time being then, as harvesting energy then for the Alpine as well, as we go on to the back straight then. 0.8 of a second then, he's really flying out there as well, is Mumford trying to gain that gap then over 1 second potentially before the last lap then. Only one more dosage of DRS then, as Kiki has got himself past Gordo then and into P3 then, into the podium places now for Kiki then. He might have some issues then to worry about then after the race though. I think we'll have to wait and see what MHD is feeling after this race then. Here comes Beast on the attack then into 130R then. Can he line up a move then for the DRS then into the Casio triangle then, into the back almost of the Alpine I think then. Goodness me, that is so close indeed then between the two of them then. Here we go then for the final DRS straight as well. Lap 27 of 27 has commenced then. Here comes Beast on the attack then. Is he too far back then? Has Mumford saved enough ERS to hold on to the lead into turn 1? Yes, he has, and he has done a brilliant job then, as Gordo's got himself back past Kiki then as well, soldiering on those old hard compound tyres then for Gordo. Mumford takes the lead, or keeps the lead I should say then, into the turn 1, into the S's section as well then, and this is looking promising stuff indeed then. Can Beast harvest enough energy then to go for the move then towards 130R? It could be a last lap, it could be a last corner battle, it could be a last gasp win as well then for Beast, and we'll have to wait and see then through the first and second degners. So far so good then for Mumford, holding on very well then for the Alpine. Up to the hairpin we go now as well, finishing off lap 27 of 27. Fantastic stuff indeed from all the silver drivers tonight as well. They put on a fantastic show in this race, I have to say then. Everyone's done a great job indeed. Unfortunately for Real Ashton, he is DNF'd in the pit lane, but he is the only blemish on this fantastic silver Suzuka Grand Prix. There you go, say that quickly. Oh my goodness me then, this is where it's going to get tense indeed then. Here comes Beast on the attack then. Mumford is going to have to use all the battery power he can then, but it looks like Beast is harvesting, so Beast might not have enough energy to try to go for the move then into 130R then. The gap is extending in the favour of the Alpine then, into the Casio triangle now, and we fly through then. Here we go then. Mumford then is going to claim the victory I think here. Mumford comes round the final corner to win the Japanese Grand Prix with a fantastic drive out there for the Alpine team, and what a race win then for Mumford. Brilliant stuff indeed, and a fantastically controlled all race as well then from the Alpine driver from P5 on the grid. Then he takes the win here in Suzuka. Fantastic and brilliant drive indeed then. What a race What a race indeed then for the championship rivals as well, then contenders, I should say. Then Beast, then P2. Brilliant stuff indeed. Unfortunately, then couldn't get it on the final lap of the race then, but still P2 in this Grand Prix. A brilliant feat indeed. Then started P2 on the grid as well then, as Tonto has retired as well and left the session. So I've cursed it then. Gordo holds on to P3. Great stuff from Gordo. Then I'm not quite sure what happened then to Kiki because he's down in P7 now. Pot stuff P4. Then Kamara Racer. Great stuff indeed from Kamara. Then in P5. Then MHD P6 in the end. Then Kiki P7. Then Vesia P8. Jay Hings P9 I should say. Then Plotters rounds off the top 10. Then great stuff indeed from him. Riyadh then P11. Then 9 places gained. Then great stuff from Riyadh as well. Then good race from him. Unfortunately with Swim to P then had a difficult race then with that extra stop I should say there for the wing damage. P12 then Vanquish P13. Reflection P14. Soldier on out there. Well done to Reflection for soldiering on. Then Far P15. Don the Dons P17. R2 beat P8 17. I think he got the fastest lap point as well. Then Tonto was somewhere as well in that race. And Irvine crosses the line in, and fair play to Irvine for soldiering on out there after the shenanigans then from the race start where he was disconnected and then couldn't rejoin for the race start. Got himself back underway and had to pit straight away for wing damage then, so he got himself to the end of the race as well. Then fair play to Irvine for soldiering on in that Grand Prix. But what a race. What a race indeed then. Fantastic stuff indeed then from all drivers then who got to the checkered flag as well then. Brilliant. There is your podium then. There is Mumford on the top step then in the Alpine. Brilliant stuff from him then. Beast in P2. Both the championship challengers then in the fight then to the checkered flag as well then. Beast in P2 in the Mercedes, and Gordo then rounds off the podium places in the Aston Martin. P3 for Gordo in this race as well then. Brilliant stuff indeed. What a Grand Prix it was. And we'll just quickly look at the classification then for the Japanese Grand Prix of Silver Season 8 Round 4. There it is then. Mumford takes the win then. Beast P2 and Gordo rounds off the podium. Brilliant stuff indeed. All top three then in this race were top three in the standings. They're going to be top three in the standings once again then for round 4. Potstaff P4. Great race from him. Kamara Racer as well then. Brilliant stuff. P5 then. MHD P6. Kiki P7. Vesia P8. Jay Hings P9 and Plotters rounds off the top 10 then. Riyadh in P11 then. Sweardra P in P12. Vanquish P13. Reflection P14. Farf P15, Donaldon's P16, R2B did get the fastest lap in P17, then Irvine P18, Tonto P19, and unfortunately the only retirement of the race then was Real Ashton Army in P20 in the pit lane then. Fantastic stuff indeed. Oh, I just hit my mic again. But fantastic stuff indeed then. Brilliant stuff from all the drivers as well then in silver. We'll get some podium interviews underway, I think, shall we? And there we go then. I think we've got Gordo joining us then. Gordo has joined us for his third place finish. I think your second third place finish this season as well. And what a race from yourself then. You pitted early under the VSC. And it sounds like someone's vaping. You pitted early under the VSC and you got yourself a just reward and podium there for your efforts. What did you think about that race and what did you think about the strategy?
Yeah, oh, sorry, I've just dropped something. Don't think it's important, hopefully. No, but I just pitted under this virtual safety car because I didn't have much pace at all and felt that I needed to try something, so I done that, and I didn't expect to finish as high as third. It was more just about ideally top 5. So I'll definitely take the result, yeah.
And you had quite a lot of battling going on between yourself, Kiki, MHD towards the end of that race. Can you tell us about how the battles went there? Were they all fair and square, or did you have to get your elbows out?
It was certainly a bit. There certainly were elbows out at times. I think that was for everybody, but then that's what you've got to expect, you know, when stuff's that for a podium or at certain times it was for a win. So, but I'd say overall I didn't have many issues with the battling.
And another podium for yourself then, like I was saying at the end of that stream as well, then you're in the fight then for the top 3 of the silver standings. And what are your thoughts on that then? Do you think you're going to be competing in the first 4 rounds then for the top 3?
Hope so. Whether I will or not, I don't know. I do feel there's some really quick people in here, and I suppose it's all about consistency, so depending, I might not.
wait to see what's going to happen this season. But a brilliant result once again then for yourself and the Aston Martin team. Then fantastic. Well done to Gordon. P3 here in Suzuka. We had, I'm not sure if Beast has joined us. Beast, have you joined us?
Yep.
He has joined us. Oh, he has joined us then. Good stuff indeed then. Beast, and you rounded off a fantastic race then, to be fair. We were watching the battle between you and Mumford for the last sort of 5-6 laps or so. And did you just run out of VRS then on that final lap then to go for the move?
Just want to say, what a race. Well, to start with, I spun at the beginning on the grass at the last corner, ruined my first stint. Box early on hards, and then coming on to the last couple of laps, he was so fast in that first sector, I had to use EOS to even keep up with him, and then by the end, I ran out of EOS, plus I ran out of fuel.
That makes sense then, because you, like you said, you were battling very, very hard for the, well, to be honest, for most of the race, like you said, in the first and second stint there as well. So yeah, like you said, running out of fuel on the last corner, last lap is difficult, isn't it? But still, like I say, you sound disappointed, to be fair, with a P2, but you're still up there in terms of the championship fight. Then I think the gap is 4 points. It's been flipped now in Mumford's favour. It's now 4 points in Mumford's favour after this race event, I believe. So yeah, you're still in it then for the top of the standings. Then after only 4 rounds, then did you think you'd be challenging this high up then for the in the start of the season, or is this expected?
Yeah, pretty disappointed with the race performance. Definitely think I deserved P1, maybe not the first stint, but second stint definitely deserved it. On the championship, I did not expect to be in a championship fight, but here we are.
We'll take it. That's all right then. No, good stuff indeed. Then, of course, well done indeed tonight as well. Even if it's commiserations, P2 in my eyes is not that too bad. But brilliant stuff indeed from Beast then in the Mercedes. Then rounds off P2 here in Suzuka, and we've got our race winner then of Mumford in the Alpine. Mumford, you came from P5 on the grid there, and you just you picked your battles then, and in the end you were in a very commanding position. Then tell us about your race.
Yeah, it was just sitting in DRS trains really. I was kind of slow on the straight. I went higher downforce, which made me really quick in the first 2 sectors, but then out of spoon I was losing like 2.5 tenths every single time. So it was just about sitting in the slipstream and in the DRS until the last couple of laps, and then me and Beast just got away from Gordo, which kind of set the last couple of laps up.
And like we were saying with Beast, you had he had fuel and ERS issues. Did you have everything under control in those last few laps, or were you panicking as well?
No, I had more than enough fuel. I think the VSC helped with that, and then ERS I had 80% out of spoon curve, so I had more than enough ERS in the end.
Brilliant stuff indeed. Lost my voice. Brilliant stuff indeed. And you've taken the lead in the championship standings as well. Then, as I was just saying, into Beast as well, you've got the gap then up to 4 points, which is the biggest gap it's ever been, I think, this season so far. And what's your thoughts then, being top of the championship then after round 4 then in Suzuka?
Yeah, it's brilliant, to be honest. I think I set myself the goal for the season after I saw some of my time trial laps. Not to be a bit cocky, but yeah, but happy to be up there.
Brilliant stuff indeed. Then we'll hope that the battle resumes then between the top 3 in the in this race and the top 3 of the standings as it is as well for Gordo in P3. Then Ultra Beast now P2 and Mumford in P1. Then we'll hopefully carries on then for one more round at least. Then into China next week then for silver. We'll see you in a week's time there. But of course it's bronze tomorrow night then, and they are going to be taking on the Suzuka circuit then for the round 4 then in bronze season 8 then, and the 100% league returns to China then on Wednesday night, so stay tuned for that then. That's going to be an exciting race as well then. So plenty more action coming up then. We've got the sabbaticals out the way for gold then. We're back into the action then full fold then, so stay tuned to ALR. Plenty more action coming up, and we'll see you very soon.